to switch over to the Bengals quick. Look, I feel like every month something of Trey Hendrickson comes out and it's fed to us like it's breaking news, and then you read the details of it and you're like, this is actually the same damn story from last month. And oh, yep, same damn story from the month before that. Nothing's really changing. The only thing that changes is the stuff that's leaked between. This is why I hate when reporters do the BS, like, oh, my sources, and I can't reveal my sources. But it's very easy. The Bengals are either going to extend him or not. And reporters do this when my sources say that they're close to getting a deal done. And then if they get it done, then it sounds like your imaginary sources fed you the right information. And then if a deal doesn't get done, then your imaginary sources will tell you, and then you'll relay your fake message from your imaginary sources that, oh, yeah, things broke down behind the scenes. The bottom line is, who knows what the hell's going on behind the scenes when it comes to this, but it just sounds like it's a lot of the same thing. And the Bengals keep being painted as this bad organization for not communicating with Trey Hendrickson or for not getting, not paying him more, not giving him what he wants. The bottom line is the Bengals do a lot of weird stuff in that front office. They don't handle a lot of these contract situations correctly. Whether you agree with their stance on wanting to extend him or not, the bottom line is it seems like the Bengals are sticking to their guns, that they feel very passionate about not wanting to extend a dominant pass rusher like Trey Hendrickson deep into, he's only 30 years old, but they don't want to extend him into his 30s. This is a relatively young defensive roster as it is. Seems like they want to keep it relatively young as far as that goes on the defensive side of the ball. Not that they're not willing to invest into a pass rusher, but if they're going to invest into one, they kind of want it to be an impact pass rusher that's significantly younger, that they can maximize and not take on such a risk for a guy that could potentially start to diminish on the back end of the contract. The bottom line is the Bengals don't have to extend him. They don't have to give him more money. And whether we like it or not, corporate America in our world, corporate doesn't have to respond to you either. They don't have to reach out to you either. If there's nothing to talk about, what's there to talk about? That Trey Hendrickson saying that, there's still plenty that they want to relay on their end. That's great. But it seems like to me, take a hint, Trey, the Bengals just don't want to do it. And I don't think the Bengals are wrong for not wanting to do it. And to say, well, they're not even communicating with us, I feel like they have, and you're just not happy with the response you got. I don't do this often where I defend Duke Tobin in the front office of the Bengals, but this is one I will. I don't think they're handling this inappropriately. Regardless of whether you think that they should extend him or not, I don't think they're handling this inappropriately. Who knows if they're truly communicating or not, but at the end of the day, if the Bengals don't have anything to communicate with you, they don't have to communicate with you. You want them to keep telling you no over and over and over? I don't understand. I'm not a big fan of how they're handling the rookie deals. Not a fan of how they handled Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Not a fan of how they handled a lot of contracts. This one, we know the significance of Trey Hendrickson in this defense. We know what he brings to the table. I'm not going to jump on the Bengals for how they're handling this. I don't think it's as bad as what people are trying to make it out to be. I think it's when you put everything together, it just seems like another messy Bengals situation. I just think this is a situation where Trey's 30. He bloomed late into that contract, wants paid more. The Bengals don't want to pay him more. Okay, go ball out, accept the contract that you signed, go get the money that you agreed to get for the Bengals this season. Go make that money, go dominate, hit the open market, and let another team pay you next season. If the Bengals don't want to pay you, if they don't want to keep you, they don't have to, and that doesn't make them wrong in this particular situation.
Trey Hendrickson's due just over $18.5 million this year. That is underpaid for a guy who has had 17.5 sacks in the last 2 seasons and finished second for Defensive Player of the Year last year.
Yeah.
No one is arguing that. But if in those last 2 seasons Trey Hendrickson had 8.5 sacks, would he take $10 million this year?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Do
you think so, Kinner? You think if Trey Hendrickson went out there and stunk the last 2
years,
this point, he would go to the Bengals front office and say, I'll give you half off. I haven't been playing up to that contract. I'll give you half off. No. But he wants a raise of $10 million because he's been elite for 2 years. That's not how it works. If you were bad, you would happily take your 18.5 and say, that's awesome. You made the mistake. You extended me for this price point, and now I'm locked in. But we don't get the same benefit of that? A contract is a two-way street. And when you touch that pen to the paper, it said 2025 on it. And 2025 has not happened yet.
I'd imagine the Bengals look at this whole thing and they say, all right, we got a deal done. We were happy to get it done. And then literally the second that you play a game, you're like, you know what, not working for me, I want more money. And then it happens again, and it happens every year. And by the way, the contract's was only a 3-year deal.
Right.
I mean, we're not talking about, I mean, the fact that we've had so many contract revisions, we're trying to revisit this contract every offseason is crazy to me. Maybe that's how the league works now, and maybe that's how players demand money, maybe that's how agents operate. I don't know. I don't know the back end of the business. But if I were the Bengals, this is a boy who cried wolf situation. Go yell to somebody else. Go yell to the next town over. You're under contract here, and let's just be done with it. I wouldn't want to extend him after this. Why would you? Because he's gonna, as Jacob just said, he's gonna walk it right back next year. If you extend him for 3 years for $50 million, he's gonna be like, I want 55, I want 60, and it's just never gonna end. No matter what the Bengals give him, he's gonna cry about it. So. No disrespect. He's a very, very good football player. Any team's going to be lucky to have him when he leaves the Bengals. But this whole situation, you can't possibly think anything remotely positive about Trey Hendrickson after this whole ordeal.
No.
I mean, he's walked this thing back 15 different ways. Play under the contract, guy. It's your fault. And if it's not your fault, it's your agent's fault. Either way, it's not the Bengals' fault for not paying you when we did pay you. The Bengals paid you. It's done. The deal is done. Right. We have it on our books. And here we go, time and time again. Now we're pushing Joe Burrow's press conferences to try to give us another week to pay you under your new demands. Like it's just I hope they do it to just shut all this thing up, just shut this whole situation up. But if I were the Bengals, and it's a franchise that's been probably notoriously stubborn in the way that they've done business over the last 50 years, I look at this situation, if I'm Mike Brown, and I just laugh.
Correct.
And I say, you know what? What's he going to do? Retire again? How many times can this guy threaten retirement on us? So I would let it roll. I don't know. He's under contract through this season. If he elects to take millions of dollars off of his own plate, that's his responsibility. That's his fault, not the Bengals.
I would rather him hold out than cave and give him some kind of $40 million deal this year.
Yeah,
what does that make the franchise look like? That makes you look like, hey, you want more money? Just hold out. Just don't go to practice. Put your, sit down and complain every single offseason, and then the Bengals will just be that franchise that caves to every single person. Yeah. No, don't do that. You have him under contract.
Yeah, like I said, they don't handle every contract situation correctly. It's a laundry list of stuff that they've mishandled, that they've ultimately got done, but ultimately cost themselves in the long run. This is not one that I'm going to be very critical of. But I see why some fans, though, are getting anxious because they don't care about the money. They just want the best, one of the best pass rushers in football out on the field, and they don't want anything to possibly get and interfere with that and get in the way and interfere with that. I understand that mindset as well. But, man, like, in at one point you brought up, Jake, too, like, you can't cave to every player.
Correct.
And I think what this would do is the Brown family has spent decades and decades of building a reputation of being very tough negotiators and standing their ground. And all within a couple-year period. And, by the way, not that they stood their ground with Joe Burrow. I mean, you were going to pay Joe Burrow. But you paid Joe Burrow, gave him everything he wanted, right? Jamar Chase, you tried to play hardball, but you ended up giving him everything he wanted and then some. T. Higgins, I would really love to know if Jamar Chase and they don't share an agent. I don't know if T. Higgins is a Bengal. If they don't share an agent and Jamar doesn't push as hard in his negotiations on behalf of T, I don't know if he's a Bengal or not. But the bottom line is that the front office has technically lost these head-to-heads when you talk about the negotiation battles. And if they not lose this one, but if Trey gets what he wants in this one, every single player moving forward for the Bengals is going to pull one of these. And I do think Trey's different than the others. The others, their contract was winding down. They're younger. They were drafted by the Bengals. This is a much different situation as far as that goes. You brought up the Joe Burrow press conference, Elliot. I don't think it's a coincidence that this comes out yesterday, because I do think it's Trey and his side that, strategically said, hey, in the afternoon, we're going to push this out the day before Joe Burrow's press conference. I also don't think it's a coincidence. So that was pushed out purposely to butt up next to Burrow's press conference, who holds a lot of power with the organization, obviously. I also don't find it a coincidence that the Bengals said, all right, we're going to push Joe Burrow's availability back to next week. Do you think that's why they pushed his availability back to next week? Because I talked to Jay Morrison yesterday, and a lot of media was showing up today to speak with Joe Burrow. That's pushed back a week. I don't think it's a coincidence that they pushed that back because of what came out yesterday.
No, I would say with almost 100%
Yeah.
certainty that's the reason. Because the first question everybody's going to ask Joe Burrow is what's going on with Trey Hendrickson? How's Trey Hendrickson? Hey, has Trey Hendrickson talked to you about any of this? Hey, what are you going to do for Trey Hendrickson? I know you guys, I know you specifically, Joe, went on a media tour to hopefully get everybody paid and everybody in good spirits heading into the 2025 season. Are the spirits still high with Trey Hendrickson? And it would go on and on and on. Why would you want your quarterback fielding those types of questions? You wouldn't, is the answer. So hopefully you get a week reset and maybe the Bengals get something done to where reporters will, at least, and by the way, this isn't to blame reporters. That's what they're supposed to be asking during this. I'm just saying when the time comes for reporters to do their job and ask questions, they'll have something a little bit more solid to hopefully give Joe Burrow to give him a response back. Is my understanding of this, and maybe I'm completely off base on that. It's all speculation on my end, but there's no world where I'm having Joe Burrow field those types of questions today. None.
No. Yeah, you just can't do it.
All right.
There's no reason to do it.